Every senior electrical engineer has to go through a year of senior design before you can graduate. And they will allow 2 teams to actually go do the SECON competition as their project.
SECON is called a hardware competition. It's essentially like a group of students get together and they build, usually it's a robot, some sort of project, a thing that goes and does something.
It's a student hardware competition where we compete against other universities in the Southeast for, usually you're just competing for the prestige of being one of the best electrical/computer engineering schools in our region.
It's completely random. It's totally up to whoever hosts it as to exactly what the competition is. And this year was it was in Huntsville, so they modeled it after, I guess, NASA, like the moon rover.
Well, I think the whole competition aspect of it it's important for when we go out into our careers and when we go out into our field. Some of us are going to be working for contractors for the government, for example, and one of the big parts of getting a government contract is building the better design, making the most efficient, making the most cost-efficient design possible. You know, in this we're just competing essentially for fun, but when you get into the real world, you have to use these skills to really hold a job.
You know, other advantages, you basically have every professor available to you because, you know, the school wants you to do good because you're representing Mississippi State.
Just kind of getting that experience as working in a team, in a group together, which is what we're going to be doing in the real world.
So it helps us as far as finding a job in the end. And then for the university, it's great recognition. You know, students coming in, we can say that we've won this competition the past few years, and you know, it really makes our program stand out amongst the rest of the schools in the Southeast. The competition is divided into 2 rounds. The first round is set up where each team will play individually and compete for the highest score, and then 8 teams will move on into the final round and have a playoff where 2 robots on the field and collect blocks at the same time.
During the competition, the robot will have to, in order to succeed and go on to the next round, that is, it has to leave its home base, for which it gets 10 points, I think, and then search the entire field for blocks. And the blocks are different colors, and those are different point values.
And so our robot had to leave its home base, go out and pick up the blocks, and then return to the home base.
For the most part, the robot has to be fully autonomous. The only interaction a person may have with it is just to turn it on.
Work began before the beginning of last semester, actually. Some of the other team members had started working on models for the chassis and different ideas for how the robot was going to look before the semester had even started.
I was here over the summer, so we actually began working on it last May, and just mainly researching components and thinking about what we were going to build.
The basic functionalities of it, I think you have to go out and just research and figure out what is the best way to do it, and then just kind of all bring them all together at the end.
And we didn't know really what the structure of the robot would turn out to be. You have all these little parts, and they don't want to cooperate unless you have them working just right. The biggest problem is getting the foundation of something that works. But once you got a foundation, things started building on top of each other, and it all came together relatively quickly once you got something solid to start working off of.
In the last 3 to 4 weeks, we actually started getting things put together and started seeing things work.
It was really exciting because you're working on it so long, day after day, and it's finally doing what you want.
It was really exciting once we started putting things together and seeing that they actually did work together.
It's quite impressive, I guess, to see what all of us could do.
We were actually one of the first robots to qualify that morning, I think, because we were there at about 8 in the morning, and we said, we're ready to qualify, let's just get it over with.
Qualification day was kind of relaxed, I guess. We just spent, half our time, or my time anyway, just observing the other team's robots.
To me, there were 2 classes of robots at the competition. There were the slow and the methodical robots that sort of crept about the field. They seemed to think, plan their next move, and sort of go try to get a block and collect it and sort of creep back to home base. And then there was the fast robots that were more built on brawn and less on brain. They seemed to just sort of cruise about the field with very little thought about collecting a block.
There were some robots I thought that could beat us in the playoff rounds because they were faster, and that's the strategy for the playoff rounds, is speed.
There were some that could get blocks but not get back to their home base. There were some that were really fast but couldn't really get blocks or do anything. So by the end of Friday, we figured we would probably be in the top 8 because we hadn't seen 8 or 9 other robots that could consistently pick up 4 blocks and return back to their home base.
It was quiet early in the morning, and then once the robots started going again, it was a lot of ruckus going on.
I think it was as close to a sporting event as any engineering thing can come. People were cheering. There were bleachers.
It was fun. There was a lot of people there. They were cheering for robots, and if they would get a block and get back close to the home base, they would go aw, and there was just a lot of oohs and ahs and cheers when people got blocks and got back to the home base. So it was a lot of fun.
It was really nice. I think we had a good group there watching the competition in the grandstands.
I was kind of nervous because, it was the first round. My job was to actually place the lunar in the home base and push the starting button. So it was pretty nerve-wracking.
There were several things we had to check on the robot when we set it down. We had to make sure it knew which home base it was in, and make sure that the gripper is all right, and basically everything was set up right.
I was just like, fingers crossed, hope everything works.
It was just exciting to see it out there, see it working. Obviously, I was anxious.
3, 2, 1, go.
I put it down, it started out, and it immediately missed the black block. And so I kind of got nervous right off the bat, but it recovered and picked up 3 blocks, and on its way back, we got lucky and it ran over the black block, blindly, which can happen if we're the way our robot's designed. And so that was our 4th block, and we got home with no problems. That was also another concern, and we ended up scoring the highest amount of points in the first round, so it was pretty exciting. Time.
I felt like I'm watching my football team, score the winning touchdown almost.
That was a big relief. It was like, it did what it was supposed to do.
And there's always some things that could go wrong, so just a sense of relief that nothing went wrong, and then, a sense of pride that, hey, it paid off. All our hard work has paid off, and we're number 1 right now.
It was just great to see, us sitting at the top, and it did exactly what we designed it for. It was consistent.
It felt really good. I think I went into the competition being okay if we didn't place. I was okay with it. And then when we started getting to the top, I was like, oh, if we don't get first place, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, the second round went a lot better. It got the black block the way it was supposed to that time. We ended up getting the exact same score that we did.
We picked up 1 block of each color, scored another 100 points, and so they gave us 200 points for the 2 preliminary rounds, and the maximum we could have got was 220.
I was just hoping we could repeat what we did in the first round. I mean, kind of in my head knew that we probably had enough points to get in as long as we just left the home square, but I kind of wanted us to see to see it get the best possible scores.